Today is August 16th, 2023. We are interviewing Bodo Schrader. My name is Etty Zilber, and we are in Phoenix, Arizona.
Camera is rolling, audio is rolling, and we are going to start.
Please state your name and spell it for us.
Bodo, B-O-D-O, Schrader, S-C-H-R-A-D-E-R.
Was Bodo Schrader your name at birth?
Yes,
Okay. Did you have any nicknames as a child?
not until I came to the United States.
And what was your nickname in the United States?
Bo.
Bo, okay.
The reason, and for clarification, there is a clown that was around when I came. His name was Bozo. And the kids used to, because my name was Bodo, they'd call me Bozo.
All right.
Thus,
When were you born, your birth date?
November 11th, 1941,
And how old are you today?
82.
Bodo, in what city were you born?
Magdeburg, Germany.
Could you please spell Magdeburg?
Oh, now you're going to do it again. M-A-G-D-A-B-U-R-G.
Could you please tell us your father's name?
Carl, with a C.
And where was he born?
I don't know.
What was your father's ethnicity
German,
and his religious affiliation?
Christian,
And what was his occupation?
janitor, and escort.
Do you know your grandparents' names, your father's parents' names?
My father's? No, I don't.
Okay. Could you please tell us your mother's full name
Margot Schrader.
and her maiden name?
Margot Bernard.
And where was she born?
Magdeburg.
And what was her religious affiliation?
She was Jewish.
Do you remember what year she was born?
1910, I believe.
Okay. And do you recall her parents' names?
My grandparents,
Your grandparents, yes.
Bernard, and I don't remember my grandmother's name at all.
That's fine. And your mother's parents, what was their religious affiliation?
As far as I know, Jewish.
Did you have any siblings?
There were 5 all total. 3 died and 2 survived. The 2 girls survived, Felicitas and Thea.
All right, Felicitas, and was the older one?
Yes.
And then Thea, Helena?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You had a brother as well.
He died of cancer.
All right. Do you have any knowledge about your siblings or their families today?
I have met my siblings, not my mother, my sisters, but the nieces and nephews that they created when I was in Germany, and they met me at the airport.
Okay. Getting back to your mother, did she have an occupation? Was she working?
She was the head salesperson, and I don't remember the the business, but she was the head salesperson.
And do you have any memories of your mother or your father?
No, unfortunately.
You started talking about meeting your siblings and their families. You visited Germany in 2019.
That's correct.
What can you tell us about that visit?
First thing was I was terrified to go to Germany in the first place. I had misgivings about it. After I got there, met my siblings and my nieces and nephews, that went away. I was taken to the Jewish cemetery where my two grandparents were buried, and also I went to I can't remember what they call it, but anyhow, and where I went to a restaurant, which I don't remember, but they tried to, we had a banquet basically for
And this was all of the relatives together
Yeah.
met in the restaurant.
right.
Okay. What I would like to move into the Nazi period right now.
Go ahead.
Can you tell us what happened to your father during when the Nazis came to power?
My father was ordered by his superior officer to go back to Magdeburg and divorce my mother. He refused. Within an hour, he was on his way to a labor camp. And I didn't have any inkling or otherwise of my father until I went to the mayor's office in Magdeburg.
And what happened to him after he refused to divorce his Jewish wife? Bless you.
He was sent to a labor camp. And I guess the Germans had a way of dealing with people that caused problems, and evidently they deemed him to be a problem.
And what happened to your mother during that period of time?
She was sent to she was sent to Auschwitz.
And why was that? Why was she sent away?
She was put on trial for refusing to get an ID, which was required in German law. And because she told them that she had converted to Christian, and they didn't buy it, so they sentenced her to 25 years. And after that, the Nazis didn't think it was enough, so they added another 50, I guess. She wasn't getting out of there.
How old were you when this took place? When your mom was sent away?
I was 6 months, if that. I was sent to Berlin to a foster home,
What happened to your siblings at that same time?
well, that was something that we hadn't cleared up. My siblings are Christian, and as such weren't affected.
So you were sent to a foster home, and your siblings, where were they sent?
To other relatives.
Okay. So the fact that you had a Jewish mother and a Christian father, how did that affect your status as a baby? What was your status considered in Germany?
I was getting pardon my French, crap beat out of me because the people that took care of the house where I was made it very clear to everybody that I was a Jew.
And at that time, was there any kind of special status that you had?
No.
No?
I was just, otherwise I'd be beat up on. Because of course, history tells us that until 36, the only time that there was no animosity towards Jews was when they had the Olympics in 36.
Now, at some point, you were transferred as a baby or as an infant to Theresienstadt. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I know that I ended up at Theresienstadt as a 2-year-old. They screwed up the tag that they had put on me, which said that I was born in 83, that I was a 3-year-old, when I wasn't. I was actually a 2-year-old.
And you have no knowledge of how you got to Theresienstadt?
A train. There was a car. I was dropped off, put in a room. I had no clothes, and a sign that said my name is Bodo Schrader, and I was 3, which wasn't correct.
Do you have any memories from Theresienstadt at all?
Some. Elsa Fischer, who took me in and saved my life, was one of those memories.
Was Elsa also a prisoner in Theresienstadt?
Well, the rule of thumb is that when a person came in who happened to be Jewish, there was an option that an adult could take in the child, and Elsa did.
So Elsa was your, how did you call her? How did you consider her?
Mutti.
Mutti. What does Mutti mean?
Mother.
Mother. Okay.
And it was a requirement, basically a requirement that I do that. Anytime I saw Elsa, it was Mutti.
Do you remember food that you got at the camp? Anything about
No,
food?
it was, I can't use that word, behave yourself. It was garbage.
Do you
basically.
remember being hungry?
On occasion, but Elsa would supply food, and I was happy.
Do you recall where you slept in the camp?
Well, I was supposed to sleep in Elsa's house, but that didn't seem to work. So I would find a place, and I would hide and sleep there the night.
Do you remember playing with any children in the camp?
Yeah, I think this is a good time to get that. I have a reoccurring nightmare. It's about a young man who would play with me, and one day he said to me, no, that he couldn't play that the next day. that they had to go get a shower. And that night, they packed him up, the family, the mother, father, a little girl, and him. And the next day he was gone, never to be seen again.
And he told you that he was going to a shower, to take
Yes.
a shower?
His father had told me that. Now, in my dreams that I've had, and they wake me up regularly, I could never fathom how a father could tell his son that he had to go take a shower and knowing that he was going to be dead that night, the following night.
Bodo, do you recall what years you were in Theresienstadt?
Not really.
You said you were two years old, right?
I was 2 years old, and I came out when I was 6. So that,
Okay. Now, do you recall the day of liberation from Theresienstadt, when you got out of Theresienstadt?
no, HIAS, Hebrew immigration, came and got me.
And do you have memories of that moment when somebody came and took you out of the camp?
Yeah.
What do you recall? How were you, what was the environment
Well,
like?
first of all, they were Yiddish people, didn't speak German. And it was kind of interesting in that one of them had a sparing knowledge, and he told me to follow him and that I was going to the United States.
And that was after you left Theresienstadt?
Yeah.
So do you remember anybody taking you there? Did anybody accompany you to the next station?
There was a total of 29 of us that were traveling the same way.
So these 29 other kids, where were you traveling?
United States.
And all of them were going with you to the United States?
Correct.
Were you taken to a DP camp in Germany before you went to the United States?
No. We, the 29 and I were put on the DC-3. We took off. The fish are looking at my documentation, and we went from Germany halfway across the English Channel and then to London by boat.
So the DC-3, you flew to where?
Halfway across the English Channel.
And then what happened?
A boat picked us up and took us the rest of the way to the airport. And we were put on a plane that was coming to the United States. There was 29 of us.
Do you know what happened to the other 29?
They
Did
were
they have family they were going to?
No, they were adopted.
All 29 of you were adopted?
Yeah, it was prearranged.
Do you know how, was this HIAS or another organization that organized this?
HIAS.
All right.
And what's funny is that I have, since I was adopted, and even afterwards, I would call HIAS and nobody would answer, or there was no way to get anybody to answer me. I was curious, you know, and never got an answer.
You called HIAS's offices, is what
Yeah,
you said?
in New York.
Uh-huh. And nobody picked
Returned
up
the
the
call.
phone? Nobody returned the call?
No.
Why did you want to speak to them?
wanted information. You know, even at that time, I was still a curious individual. And I thought somebody could tell me what was going on, because once we got to New York, I was at Ellis Island, because all of us had to get inoculations. 29 shots.
How many shots?
29.
29 shots.
And to this day, I hate shots.
What was your first impression when you landed in New York?
It was confusing. There's all kinds of activity going on. I just lay there and waited. Somebody would tell me to go there, and I would do it.
And who met you at the airport in New York?
I'm not sure. I think they were high officials.
Did you already know the name of your adoptive parents that you were going to?
No.
Did you know the city you were going to at that moment?
Nope.
So when did you find out about the city and the name of your adoptive parents?
And Mr. Bernard from the Chicago Jewish Federation came to Ellis Island, picked me up, and at that point I was, "You're going to Chicago." Still no person's name involved or anything of that nature. And I took a train to Chicago, and we went to the offices of the Jewish Federation in Chicago. And then Mr. Schrader and Mina, which was his name, his wife's name, met me at the office. And then
Who accompanied you on the train?
Mr. Bernard.
Mr. Bernard.
Yeah, he's since retired. I'm not sure if it was me or, whoops. Go ahead. I gotta behave.
Did you at that time know anything about your mother, her fate, your father, when you were when you came to the United States?
No.
You didn't. So you arrived in Chicago by train, and your adoptive parents came to pick you up from the train?
No, from the Jewish Federation.
From the Federation.
Yeah.
And that was the first time you learned about them and their name?
Mm-hmm.
What was that feeling like at that moment?
Confused.
Confusion.
You know, you have two adults, and one guy that brought me there, and me, and no further information.
So they came and they picked you up and they took you to their home in Chicago, yes?
Highland Park, Illinois.
Highland Park, Illinois. You must remember that day?
Vaguely. It didn't turn out well. And I can give you the address of the place we were going to, 508 Sheridan Road.
Would you like to tell us the names of your adoptive parents?
My father was Joseph Lullaware, and his wife, Mina.
Could you spell Lulaware?
Lullaware?
Lullaware?
L-E-L-E-W-E-R.
And do you remember their house? Did you have your own room in the house?
I did. that was actually a funny little situation. We arrived, Joe and Mina brought me, and there's a sister involved. And she was in high school. And she was waiting for me because she wanted to show me off to her friends. And the problem with that is I liked the other team's uniform, so I was cheering for them. But that was okay. But I had a very nice room that Joe had built for me with extra bed, and I had a headrest for my bed, and I was right at the head of the stairs. And they had a dog named Mortimer, after a celebrity that did that kind of thing. And the first part of my stay with the Lullawers was really absolutely retarded. Now, I can look at it now. Number one, nobody knew German. Number two, the things that they were trying to feed me, I had never seen. They seemed to have lost track of the fact that I was from Germany, and that there were different times in Germany. Milk was not a common thing to have, nor was green beans, nor was any of the things that they tried to feed me. And I resisted. And then I booked it up to my room, got under the bed, and that's where I stayed.
Under the bed?
Under the bed.
You stayed under. How old were you at this time when you got to the States?
Let me see. I was 5. Part
So
of
it was
it,
1946.
no, 49.
1949.
Yeah. August 8th of that,
8, yeah.
if you
Yeah.
want. And most of the food that they were, I'm sure it was nice and prepared properly, but they had a maid and a butler. But more tried to keep getting under and scaring the shit out of me, pardon my French. And the first couple of weeks, they couldn't convince me to get into a bed. I always slept under the bed for security reasons, my own security reasons. So.
And did the family understand that you were coming with a difficult history?
No, I don't believe they did, because the fact that, Joe had plenty of money. He could have gotten an interpreter or whatever, but he never did. But he was, as I told you before, and I will defend it to the end, he was a mensch. When he said something, it happened.
Do you remember going to school for the first time? In Highland Park?
Yep, I definitely do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I went to Braeside School, which is in Ravinia, which is right next to where the Chicago Symphony performs. And they nobody there other than the janitor who was German could speak German. But the four teachers didn't have a clue, and they were instructed to teach me English. And Mrs. Petronic was the teacher. And with Herman, who was the German, they started working together to get words, English words, into me. Now, at one point, there was a thing called recess. Now, in Germany, they don't have recess, ever. And I didn't know what it was. And a gentleman by the name of Michael Goldberg, tried to include me in the activities. I didn't know that he was being nice, and I broke his arm.
You broke his arm?
I broke his arm. And if Hans had not screamed loud enough, I might have killed him. I was a very dangerous individual at that time. I didn't trust anybody. I was screwed up.
And at some point, your adoptive parents found another school for you, is that right?
Yep. Windsor Mountain School. In
The
Lenox,
Windsor Mountain School, where was that?
Lenox, Massachusetts.
So they sent you from Illinois to Massachusetts.
Correct.
Was that a boarding school?
Yes. And the founder of the school was a Dr. Gertrude Bondy, B-O-N-D-Y. Dr. Gertrude was the first woman in Europe to achieve a doctorate in psychology. She was a disciple of Sigmund Freud.
And what country did she come from?
Originally Germany.
So she could communicate with you in German.
Right. But because of the atmosphere, and Dr. Bondy, by the way, was Jewish, but the atmosphere of the country at that time, it was not healthy for her or her students to stay there anymore. So they went and purchased a school in Vermont.
So Dr. Bondy left Germany. She ran
Correct.
away from Germany because of the Nazis and
Yes.
came to the United States and set up another school in the United States.
Correct.
What was special about that school?
It was the same as it was with when we were in Germany. It was nothing special. What made it special was Dr. Bondy. I mean, you can have outstanding teachers, the best in the world, but if they ain't got a personality, what the hell good are they?
How did Dr. Bondy respond to you? How did she help you?
The first thing she recognized was the fact that I was dysfunctional and that I was very dangerous in terms of dealing with other people because of what happened to me. And when I was in Berlin, they let everybody at the orphanage know I was Jewish, and I was getting my butt kicked almost every day. When they sent us to another orphanage, same scenario, I was getting my butt kicked. Then I got strong enough that I was no longer tolerating getting my butt kicked. And Dr. Bondy, when she met me, We talked for a good half hour. And then she said, I know what you went through, and I know that it will never happen here, and you are a friend. And she never left the friendship behind in all the years I went to Windsor Mountain School. I was there from 6th grade until I graduated as a senior.
And why did your adoptive parents send you to this boarding school?
They couldn't handle me. I was a handful in every sense of the word. At one point, they sent me to a shrink, and the guy couldn't handle me. He couldn't handle his own kids either, but that was another story. There is a different flavor when you have a child that comes from a very dysfunctional, caustic place, and you expect them to act normal. That don't happen, ever.
But Dr. Bondi identified it and was able to help you.
Oh, yeah.
And so you were there for 6 years till
Yep.
graduation.
Yep.
Who was paying the tuition for the school?
Joe, my adoptive father.
He paid the tuition for the entire 6 years.
Yep. And it wasn't a small nut. It was $8,000 a bite for 6 years.
Did he or his wife ever come to visit you at Windsor Mountain School?
No. And let's understand, his wife had 14 miscarriages, which in and of itself is mind-boggling. More so now because I have psychological training and what have you. And she was totally reliant on Joe for everything. And she resented me to no extent that I can describe because I was taking attention away from her because Joe wanted to play baseball or whatever. And it was a difficult time for me because she was also an abuser. She had a paddle. She would come and she would tell me to do something, and if I didn't do it promptly, she'd hit me. That happened twice, and then I took it away from her and told her to never do it again. You know?
Yeah. Speaking about sports, did you play sports at this school?
At Windsor Mountain?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Because of Germany, I had learned how to play soccer in Germany, and I just carried it through at Windsor. Also the fact that Dr. Bondi's son was an alternate on the U.S. team for the Olympics. His name was Heinz. And without being vicious or... He had the personality of an ant. Best way to describe it. Was not very talkative, but he was a coach. But he liked what I did, and that got him good graces, and I played soccer until I left Windsor.
Do you have memories of very close friends that you made at Windsor Mountain School?
Yeah, matter of fact, there is one. His name is Donald McCullough. Donald McCullough was a realtor in Phoenix. Had a business, and he was very successful. And just as I got here, he died.
So he was a friend from
Windsor.
Windsor Mountain,
Yeah.
here in Phoenix.
Yeah. Donald, well, we had roomed together the entire time we were at Windsor. And we were in a housing unit called Beaupre. And we had wired it and had all kinds of things going on that weren't supposed to be done, but we did it anyhow.
That was a very special experience for
Yeah.
you at Windsor Mountain.
Oh yeah, I would not, there are too many people in this world that are busy with everyday business. Dr. Bondi not only was busy with that, but she also made it sure that you were paid attention to and that your needs were met. I mean, I wasn't a simple individual because I had much anger and very protective of myself, but she got through. And what's funny is in the yearbook, I was the welcome wagon for all the new kids that came into school because of her. She made me do it, and I did. And I'm glad because most of the kids that I've met since then have kept in touch.
So after you graduated from Windsor Mountain, tell us about your higher education.
I got a scholarship and school in Massachusetts again, and as a soccer player. The school that I'm blowing my mind right now, they have the Hall of Fame at the school for basketball. And they, there was 11 of us. 10 went to the same school in Massachusetts. And by the time we were through, we had won 4 national championships. We knew everybody. We knew all the players that played with me played for 4 years together. And we did, we beat UCLA 4 times in a row. Now there's a little anecdote with that, is I went to UCLA to get my master's. And the coach from the soccer team came, "Are you coming to play soccer?" "No, sir."
As they recognized you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I beat
What did you study as an undergraduate?
history, European history.
And your graduate program, your master's program, what did you study?
The name I used was children's ability to coordinate. Because in most cases, you have a young man and he just, if you don't do this or don't do that, or you can't do this, they're going to perform poorly. My program said very basically, you will, anything you want to do, you can do. Just get to it. And I had kids at 4 and 5 years old shooting basketballs, regular height basketball at 10 foot. And I had some playing soccer, same way, and it was a fun time for me. Also a learning time, so.
So after you graduated, you did your undergraduate, then you went immediately into a master's program?
UCLA.
And what did you do afterwards? Where did you work? What career did you pursue?
Well, I needed to have a living. I mean, you can't live in Chicago or out of New York or any place if you don't have a skill. And I had become very proficient at the self-defense. I did karate and several other disciplines. And one of the guys was a friend of mine who I had befriended, was a deputy sheriff in Cook County. And he got me signed up for them. What was kind of funny is that right as I signed up, first function that we had was we had to defend the Hitler movement in Chicago. The courts had ordered that they be allowed to march in Skokie, Illinois. Now, Skokie, Illinois is unusual in that a majority of the people that are, the officers of the town are Polish.
Polish.
But most of the people that lived in the town were Jewish. So, and what was aggravating to me was, as a law enforcement officer, because that's what I became, I was trying to be sociable with some of the Nazis or wannabe Nazis. And I would say, "Wie geht's Ihnen?" which interpret, "How are you doing?" Nothing. They didn't understand German. They didn't know anything about it. They were Nazis, that's all. And that's ridiculous. I mean, if you profess to care for something, whether it be as an example, I am very proud and want to be participant with the Holocaust Association of Phoenix. They've given me opportunities, and I love them. But if you don't care for what you're representing, it ain't worth a damn.
So the neo-Nazis didn't even know what they were
They
marching
didn't understand, first of all, basic German. Wie geht's es Ihnen? Nothing. Blank. And it was just, but it was my job to make sure that they didn't get their asses kicked by Americans. I apologize for the language.
Let's take a little break. You need maybe a little water for your voice. We don't want your voice to disappear on you. Yeah, bring it up. There you go. There, that's perfect. And you can see your eyes.
Okay.
Resume.
All right. You got the water?
Yep.
Okay. And you wanted to go back to Windsor Mountain?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to introduce that question again. Okay?
Yep.
You ready? Bodo, tell us a little more about your experience at Windsor Mountain School in Lenox, Massachusetts.
It was a small school in terms of enrollment. The most we had at any given time was around 400. And I was involved in sports, particularly basketball, track, baseball, and some remarkable athletes I was involved with during that period of time. The first one that comes to mind is a gentleman named Bill Eagleson. Bill was a Nigerian. He was 7'3", and he was the valedictorian of the class. He ended up going to MIT. He ended up being involved in the LEM program that landed on the moon. But for the time being, that when we were students together, he was, I was a competitor in terms of grades, and he was one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Now, just so we get it clear, when Windsor Mountain School was founded, it was founded on coeducational and diverse. And one of the things that most people give us a hard time with was race. And Dr. Bondi refused to tolerate that kind of dealing with anyone. She was a very liberal individual, very outspoken when it came to race and things of that nature. And what was funny is that here's a woman who was, when I was there, was in her 50s. And she came to every game. And 3 years in, the coach had decided that we were going to compete in the state championship. We had a team that was worthy of it, so we were going. Dr. Bondi said, fine, go for it. We ended up winning the state championship in Massachusetts. We were playing against a school that had an enrollment of close to 4,000, and we won it all. And I was on the team, and it was kind of the thing that always made me laugh was they would announce us at the Boston Gardens, which is famous, and for Windsor Mountain School, the center, William, 7'3". Bodo Windsor, 6'9". The other gentleman that was on that team ended up being Walker Kay. I don't know if you ever watch sports, but Walker Kay is a fishing show, and he owned it. He was also the second-rated water skier in the world. And but we made, things, we may be from different generations or different sects, but we all work together to get it right the first time. We had people that, we were biracial in terms of our team, as well as the school, as well as coeducational in terms of education. And we all stuck together no matter what. There was, as an example, the town of Lenox hated us.
The town of Lenox hated you.
Yeah,
Why did they hate you?
Because we kicked the butts out of there, and then poor little weenie butts. You got to remember, you got a 7'3" center. You have two off guard points that are 6'9". You have a 6'7" off guard, and me.
Oh, so they hated you because you beat them in sports?
Every time. Not just, in 6 years or 5 years that I competed, we beat them every time, and not by single numbers, but by triple numbers.
Fantastic. Windsor Mountain School was a very, very special place.
It was. For me, Dr. Bondi was everything. You know, if I needed to talk, she was there. Now here's a woman that ran the school, did all of the administrative things that one does as a head of the school, and yet she had time for me, and it was special.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So let's move from school. We spoke about your higher education in university and your
Yeah.
graduate program. Let's switch to personal life. Where and when did you meet your first wife?
It was going on a bike trip in Lake Michigan. It's right around Chicago. There's a bike track that goes all the way around the city. And she had just been stood up, I guess, and she wasn't happy. And I said to her, I said, "Hi, want to go for a ride?" She, "Yep, okay." And we were talking and whatever, and that carried on for a while. And then eventually we got around to asking her if she would care to marry me, and she said no the first time. And I didn't blame her. I was being a peckerhead. But then eventually we got married.
And where did you settle?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah. And at that point I was very busy in the politics. I was the mayor's adjutant. If there was something going on that needed to be taken care of, me. And it's kind of funny because the fact that we had a meeting and it was in '68. No, it was in '58. And it was to select a candidate for Vice President of the United States. Lyndon Baines Johnson didn't want it. And basically, politically, come on in. Come in. Being Vice President of the United States was like having a bad day and having to say to your mother you care for her.
What was your role in this political campaigning?
I was the adjutant, the aide to Mayor Daley.
To Mayor Daley?
Yeah.
I see.
Richard J. Daley. And it was my job, as in this particular case, it was my job to make sure that all of the people that the mayor wanted there were there. And on this particular day, it was what makes it, would you stop moving slowly? Thank you. This particular day, Lyndon Baines Johnson was there, his wife, Bobby Kennedy, Jack Kennedy, and several other politicians. And we were trying to convince Lyndon Baines Johnson to accept the nomination with Jack. And he was adamant, he would not. And his wife was there as well, Lady Bird Johnson. Now, Lady Bird Johnson kind of ran the show in their house. And they were talking, and he kept saying no, no, no. And we had, the top hitters, Sam Rayburn and Jack and several other people. And he kept refusing. And as we were going through a second round of this, at one point, Lady Bird said, "I've had enough." She says, "What do you mean?" "Congratulations, Mr. Vice President nominee. It was your decision." And she had made it, and that was it. And he ran for and became the Vice President of the United States.
Very interesting. Switching back to the home front, did you have any children?
I had one. Her name is Margot. She's named after my mother. She is a gorgeous woman. I think I brought a picture of her. And she was a handful. But she was my handful, and she loved me, and I loved her. And we're still together today.
And where does she live?
She lives in New Hampshire.
And what is her profession?
Clinical psychologist.
And do you have any grandchildren?
Nope. Well, I have a grandchild. Cindy has a daughter, and she calls me Pops. But
And did Margot have any children?
Margot has Mia.
Mia, a daughter.
Yeah. And there's a side story on that. When I was there when Mia was born, and her father and other people, and at one point, her father said, "It's an MIA." And we asked what, and he told us that there were supposed to be cookies, not split. And at that point, Margot said, "This is Mia," and that's how she got her name.
From MIA.
MIA, right.
And so do you have contact with Margot and Mia?
Yeah, constantly. You talk to her.
Okay.
She's an interesting person. She just got a promotion. She's now some big muckety insurance company. And she worked hard to get it, and I'm proud of her.
Okay. Bodo, are you involved in any kind of Holocaust activities?
I am in Phoenix, the Phoenix Holocaust Association. It was kind of funny, as I came from New Hampshire, and I was looking to do something. I'm not a docile person when it comes to not doing things. And I called up the president's office. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to, but I did. And I said, "My name is, and I'm from Germany, and I'm interested in getting involved." And they put me to work.
What kind of work did you do?
I go to schools, talk to children, and get them to understand that you can't allow Holocausts anywhere in the world.
What's the most common question that the students might ask you when you go into the classroom?
The most common?
What do they want to know?
Well, it's not actually. I have a routine that I do. when I go to the classroom, I ask them, if you choke a Smurf, what color is the Smurf? And the kids normally don't initially get the correct answer. Then we work on it, and then finally they come up with blue. And it's been a mantra of mine all through my teaching period. I believe that if you get kids to come in and enjoy themselves and learn, and then you get a successful student. And every time I have gone to the Jewish school here in town, they've asked me 4 times to come, because I talk to them and I get them to understand what happened, and I take the time, and they want me back. This is the 4th time I've been over there.
Have you ever experienced anti-Semitism here in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
Well, I'm a bad person when it comes to anti-Semitism of any kind, or prejudice for that matter. I don't allow it to. Most people, when you call them, pardon my French, sir and ma'am, if you call them a nigger, or you call them, bad names, or, hey, you're entitled to the feelings you have, if you can justify them, and I make them justified. A lot of the people that call me anti-Semitic names don't anymore, because of the fact that it took them almost an hour to get to it, but they got the idea. We are people, all of us. I don't give a damn what religion or whatever, black, white, green, or purple. We deserve to give respect and also to receive respect. I had one guy that, it was fun, at one of the last places that we lived at, and I have a tendency to side everybody. And this guy came up and I said, hey, how are you? I don't talk to your kind. Huh? What does that mean? But I didn't pursue it, I just let it go. Later that day, I saw him again. I said, hey, how you doing? I don't talk to your kind. What kind? What are you talking about? You want to explain it to me? I don't talk to white people. Why not? I was told not to. Aha. So in other words, you have made a decision, others have for you. Yep. Okay. That's a valid point. I would hope that as we talk, that you will find out that I'm not a bad person. And as such, you and I can have a nice conversation without all the jargon. I don't talk to your kind. Well, that's fine, but I'm going to talk to you. And I left it at that. I talked to that man for a week. He was black. And at the end of the week, I said, number 1, how are you? He says, fine. Anything change? Yeah, what? I talk to you now. Cool. Do you want to explain why, or does it matter? Doesn't matter. Okay.
Mm.
Bodo. If we converse and get people to pull together, we'd have half the problems we have.
How often, if I may ask, How often do you think about the wartime and your childhood experiences? Is that something that you think about often?
No, I have a reoccurring problem that because of the young man who couldn't play with me because he had to go take a shower, and reoccurringly I see his father and mother having to tell him that he's going to be put to death. I see the young man not believing it. These are things that.
So this is a reoccurring dream, a
Yeah.
nightmare, yeah.
Right. And I deal with it. I don't sit there, poor me, because that's garbage. You have to go as far as you can and then hang up. That's my thing.
Did you receive advice at some point, counseling advice about dealing with your Holocaust experiences?
Yeah. Dr. Bondi, every day. Dr. Bondi has a way of making you feel great, even when you don't feel great. And then she'll get into you about, well, how about this, or how about that, experiences that I experienced. And she'd get me talking every time. But she had the skill and the care. That's the other part of the thing that we have to realize is that we have to legitimately care about those we talk with, whether they be black, white, green, or purple. If we show that kind of legitimacy, we wouldn't have half the problems we have.
Did you tell your daughter about your experiences? Do you talk to your granddaughter about your experiences?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, Margot and Mia both went me to Germany.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Tell us a little bit about that trip. What started the search for your history? Who was responsible for that?
Every day I had an office, and when it was time to pay rent, they'd come to me. But I had a whole lot of dead time. And I would seek my mother and father and never found them on the internet. It was June 8th. All of a sudden, up pops an image of my mother. You'll see it's on the...
Where did it pop up?
On the internet. And I had never seen her on the internet. Didn't even know what she looked like or anything. I still didn't until I went to Germany. I didn't know what my father looked like. And so I called Margot and I was all excited, when she came over. She got involved as well. And turns out that the church where my mother had belonged were looking for me, And one thing led to another, and after a while, I got to meet the pastor of the church. I got to meet some of the parishioners, and it's kind of neat.
So you flew to Germany?
No, I was talking to him by internet. Then the temple we were associated with, one of the members came to the pastor and said, look, I want Paul to go to Germany, and here's 2 tickets. So I was given a ticket for me and my daughter to go to Germany, to visit Germany. He needs to go.
Who did you meet when you got there?
Huh?
Who did you meet in Germany when you got there?
My nephews and nieces. There was 40 of them. And it was kind of funny is that when you go to any country, but Germany in particular, Germany has two ways to get into the country. One is by passport, and the other is by being a German. And so I was getting ready to pull the passport, and they looked at my name and said, "No, over here." They had recognized me as a German. And I had preconceived ideas. You know how you run into people and you have bad experiences with people? That was my experience. Wasn't too cool. And I keep forgetting the damn things. The commemorative piece that they put, last place that you lived, a Jew lived before they would take him to wherever. And the pastor, I was crying because I had just said, "Thank you," in German. "I love you." And the pastor leaned into me and he said to me, "I feel so bad. We should have done more." And all of a sudden, anything that I might have thought to be bad about Germany went back, because there was one person that cared. And as it turns out, a majority of the people I met in Germany did care. It wasn't, you get preconceived ideas about how bad it is and all this, and then you find out it isn't true. It's a relief, number one. Number two, you meet some terrific people. I have a hat at home that was, I got from Magdeburg, a shop in Magdeburg. And I specifically was going to get that hat. And I went in and I said to him, "My name is Bodo Schrader. I am from Germany. I was born in Germany. And I am in Magdeburg, and I want to buy a hat." The guy says to me, he says, "What was your parents' name?" I tell him. He goes in the back, comes back maybe 3 minutes later, and he has the phone number where my parents lived before the war in '37. Nicest man you'd ever meet, and he said, "Go here," and he was giving me directions to places to enjoy. What was that? Hello?
You're fine.
We're good. Keep going. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you had a positive experience when you went to visit these family members in Germany.
Yeah, I only had one bad experience, and that was not of my family's doing, but of Margot's boyfriend. For some reason, he thought that I needed direction and that I couldn't do anything without his advice. And to be quite frank with you, it was quite condescending. I think I'm a capable person and I can handle myself pretty well. So I got mad. It was bad. I shouldn't have done that. I apologize, but like everything else that goes that way, it's done as far as I'm concerned. But you can have all the anger you want.
Bodo, can you tell us a little bit about how you feel regarding your Jewish identity, your ancestry? Are you affiliated? Are you affiliated with any synagogue, any organization?
I am a member, I think, of good standing with the Holocaust Association of Phoenix. I am not a religious person per se. I believe in God. I believe that if I treat you as a person or anybody, and I get the same kind of respect back, I've accomplished what I needed to accomplish. I'm not very religious, and to be quite frank with you, when you're in Theresienstadt or anywhere else in a war situation, they don't have a lot of religion to teach. That was my biggest problem for the longest time. I finally got an answer from a rabbi here in regards to Emil's, my name being Bodo, given by my mother. But so many people take it for granted that your parents are the ones responsible for your name, for your ethnic background. And it's true. But oftentimes we see too many people not give that respect. And I for one, believe that being respectful, no matter what the color of the man or even being German or whatever, if you don't give respect, you can't get respect. And that's what I do.
Tell me something. Do you watch movies about the Holocaust or read books about the Holocaust?
Schindler's List, I got close to it. Then I couldn't do it. I'm sure it was true. But I have problems with people who try to, sell something to you and they can't do it themselves. Oftentimes we have people who will preach to you but haven't got a clue as to what they're preaching. And that's my problem. I don't allow that to happen around me.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
No, I was just curious. Do you recall the Eichmann trials?
Eichmann?
Adolf Eichmann, when he was tried in Israel. Do you remember watching those trials?
No, I didn't. I wanted to go there and hang him. There was a natural anger. And what I thought was very poetic was that as soon as Eichmann was put on trial, Dr. Mengele had a heart attack. My way of flying, if you will.
Tell us a little bit about your current wife.
Cindy, loving, a pain in my bum, as I am in hers, and one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. Now, I say that, and she knows I talk about it that way, but I won't admit it.
Tell us why it was important for you to share your story with us today.
Okay. When I first realized that I was German and a Jew and all that thing, I couldn't talk about it to anybody. At first it was shame. Then it was anger because I shouldn't be that way. And then finally I said, pardon my French, that word that I use too often, why not? Why don't you? And what I found is that there were many people who were very gracious, very polite to me, cared about, my feelings and so forth. And there's just as many that didn't. And it got to a point where I said, oh well, it's your loss, and went on my way. Yeah. We talk about religion, and we talk about the different forms of religion that are out there. As an example, my wife and I got married on Cinco de Mayo Day.
On which day?
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May.
Yeah. And it was convenient, basically, because that's when I could get hitched. I believe that if we, as human beings, treat each other as human beings, prejudice is not on the list. It will never be on the list because we're talking to a person about something specific. If we start letting that get in your way, then you don't accomplish much. Dr. Bondi told me, he says, when I came to this country, people didn't care about me. And I said, huh? How is that? I was a German, I was Jewish, and didn't have time for anybody. She did, but they didn't. And came to, I've looked at that scenario and others like it. And what I find out is that you gotta care about somebody before they can show you care. I don't care who it is. I have not met you at all, and we have talked. And I have respect for you and care that you succeed at what you're doing. But that's not something that you earned it. You too, with your quietness there. You love each other and you care for each other. And in so doing, you get into this kind of an endeavor. Hey, it's great. What I hate is the ones that are hypocrites and are truthful, and disrespect. That bothers me a lot.
What message would you like to leave for future generations, those who are going to watch your recording here and your testimony? What would you like to tell them? What's your message?
If you tell the truth, and the truth is all-encompassing, my message is simple. If you lie or you distort, and I had one, forgive me for saying it, idiot, sit up there and try to defend the Holocaust. In my teachings that I have studied, if a person denies something and will not listen, they deserve what they get. I am very much people-oriented. I love people. They show stories and tell stories that are phenomenal. If you take the time to care, and that's the bottom line on it, we have to care for each other. If we care for each other, we'll go a long way in beating down the bad boys.
Is there a special message you would like to leave for your granddaughter?
I have to call her. Her birthday's on the 30th, and she expects me to call her. And if I'm late, she chews me out.
When she watches this video, is there something special you would like her to know?
That I love her. You know, people, I've never met you two, but what I respect about it is that you care enough to be here and to listen. That's all that matters. We can get over the small crap later, but let's just respect each other, acknowledge that we're here. That you and me and, what is your name anyhow, Eddie?
Etty.
Huh?
Etty.
Etsy. Okay, Etsy. You know, if we acknowledge the fact that we exist as people and that we love each other and that we can show love, then, hey, we got a beat. It's when you don't listen to people and they talk trash, garbage, or whatever, that you lose the sight of what is important. I refuse to lose sight of what is important.
We're coming to the end of our interview, Bodo. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the story that you haven't mentioned?
Is there more of this coming after lunch?
Yes, we'll do the photographs after break, yes.
Oh, okay. And the statement was?
Is there anything else you would like to add to the story that you haven't yet spoken about or haven't been asked about?
When John Paul, the 23rd, did the ecumenical process, I was very fortunate to meet a priest from Ireland. And John Paul, you know, was a phenomenal individual as well. But
You mean Pope John Paul?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the Irish priest and I got to be very good friends. And he would say, you know, he said, I don't understand you Americans. Well, you're talking to me, and he'd get him going. But what is more important, in my opinion, is that every one of us has a purpose in life to help somebody else. And if we help that other person, we've made ourselves better. Simple.
Any regrets or special comments that you would like to make?
I regret every person who is anti-Semitic or anti-black or whatever, all of them. as far as I'm concerned, they can all go to wherever. Each of us has a gift that we can give to somebody else, and it doesn't cost anything. And it is right here in your hand. So when people are too busy to be angry or to be prejudiced, if you will, or to talk about people bad because they happen to be black or green or purple, whatever, I'm sorry, they've lost half of the living that they have. Each of us can give something to another person and make it last and share with them the caring that you have. If you have that, I know, Etsy, you could not spend one day without getting involved with somebody or doing something like this, because it fulfills you. And that's all I'm trying to do, is fulfill myself and be kind. That's the other part of it. I was a very scary person when I came out of the Holocaust. When I was in school, I was fighting continuously. And it was Dr. Bondi who finally said, you know, if you try being nice to somebody, maybe you'll get something back. So I took her advice, said she was nice. She said, I love you too, Bo. Simple. As simple as that. You know, we're too busy developing hatreds, developing real or imaginary faults. You know, why don't we just spend a little bit of time on each of us sharing something with somebody else? I don't care who it is, you know. But we have to start remembering that we all are human beings, and as human beings, we should give and receive the gifts that each of us can give. That's it.
Bodo, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your messages with us.
My pleasure. I've never met Carl. One of the things that...
Wait. Ready?
That's Carl.
Bodo, here in this metal frame, who's that photo of?
My father, Carl.
Can you tell us where you got this photo?
In Germany, at his nephew's house.
When you went to visit the family, when there was a family reunion.
Correct.
And so they gave you this photo. You never met your father?
Never met my father, never met my mother. What's kind of strange is that, in one sense, you know, all my values, all the things that I have developed over the years, I'm not sure if my parents had had that. You know, and it's something that I think about once in a while, because I believe them to be that careful, you know, they caring. You never know.
Okay. And this photo, who's in this photo?
My bank. My bank.
Your bank?
Yeah. Every time she wants something, Papa.
Okay. So this is your...
Margot.
This is Margot, your daughter, and who's the little one with her?
Mia.
Okay. You want to tell us a little bit about Margot and Mia?
Margot is one of the most unbelievable parents I've ever met. She is strict but gentle. She is loving but hard. And every time I go over to see the two of them together, I can't give Mia any candy.
And why is that?
We'll ruin her teeth and spoil her. That's Margot. Now, you go back a few years to Margot, and that was the same lines I used on her. So, but
wonderful memories.
Yeah, well, Margot was a schemer in that she knew I was coming to get home at a certain time in the afternoon, and she had lunch ready. Let's go fishing. And the reason she wanted to go fishing, there was a boy over there she was interested in. Not me. But no, I would not trade for it. These two, I would never, about my father, I never knew. But all I've been told about him is he was a terrific individual. And Margot, you know, I can't talk bad about Margot. Not least with her looking at me.
Wonderful. Bodo, once again, thank you for sharing your history and your family with us.
You're welcome. That's all I can say. I'm impressed by you as not only a narrator, but also being involved with this program. It's a tough program to get through. And I'm truly appreciative of you allowing me to do that.
Well, the feeling's mutual. Thank you, Bodo.
Anything else?
Bodo, thank you for bringing this book to share with us. Tell us a little bit about this book.
Windsor Mountain School was unusual in terms of content as well as care. And this book, each year, is, there are, I don't know how many books there are, but each one is a class, and they can get, every one of them can, like, I lost mine in a fire. I had to go get it. And
a second copy.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is your yearbook from your graduating class?
Yes.
And what year was that?
60.
1960. And you chose to show us and share with us a photo of Dr. Gertrude Bondi. Why did you choose to share that?
She shows all of the things that I believe, and she taught me these things. I wasn't a very caring person when I first came out of concentration camp, but Dr. Bondi taught me how to love, how to care, and how to be grateful. And there are very few teachers or educators that have that kind of capability, lasting capability.
Thank you.
Camera is speeding.
Bodo, thanks so much for bringing in these precious photos to share with us. I'm going to help you, and we would like to hear who's in each one of these photos. So the first one on the left, this lady.
My mother, Margot Schrader.
Right. And in the center, there's a photo with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people.
The
Who's that?
Berenson family.
Which family?
Berenson.
Is it possible that it's the Bosch family?
Bosch family.
Bosch family, your mother's family. Over on your right is a photo of this man. Who's that?
My father,
What's his name?
Carl,
Okay.
with a C,
Uh-huh.
not a K. No, his was K, actually. Go ahead.
And down below him is another photo of a woman.
Margot.
That's your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the center on the bottom is a photo of 2 young girls.
Theresienstadt and Thea, my sisters.
Who were they? Your sisters.
Yeah.
All right. And then over on your left, on the bottom, is another photo of a man.
Carl.
All right. Can you tell us how you got these photos?
We sent, when we first got the initial picture of my mother, we called the U.S. Holocaust Association website. They sent 4 files with my parents, my sisters, plus all kinds of documents. Took us, Margot, almost 3 months to get it all sorted out.
So you collected these photos fairly recently?
4 years ago.
And who put it together in this
Margot.
collage? Your daughter, yeah?
Oh yeah, she's very talented. It cost me $40.50, no, $40.50 to get it sent from New Hampshire to here.
Okay, thank you.